Send in the red shirts.
All of you who've been following my reviews of Discovery each week, and why wouldn't you? You know that the last two episodes didn't really do it for me. Well, apparently the showrunners and producers of Discovery believe in the time-old adage, saving the best for last, because this last Sunday's episode, okay, wow. I think I'm gonna say it was easily the best by far. Why, you might ask? Well, see that back there? Okay, there's no other way to say it. That's a bad, and the other word rhymes with itch or witch. I'm not gonna say it. I'll go back into my old school days and use the word mamma jamma as opposed to the word I want to use. No matter how you cut it, that's my girl right there. She put in that work on this episode. There was that scene on the bridge where Lorca basically ordered her not to go onto the mission, onto the Klingon ship, the sarcophagus ship. And Mike just kept talking back to the captain. I was like, watch out, Mike. I mean, you know, you already got haters saying you don't make good decisions with what you did with Georgiou in the pilot. But I tell you what, she convinced the captain. She went over to the sarcophagus ship and she put in work. But not only did Mike step up to the plate, I mean, everyone in this episode stepped up to the plate. Stamets, he was like, listen, if 133 jumps is required to win this war and to save this planet, then 133 jumps it is. My man, for all you people out there saying this is not Star Trek, that's what Star Trek is all about. Whether it's Kirk, Picard, Janeway, or now Lorca, it's about people stepping up and saying, that's my captain, I'm putting in the work, I'm ride or die, let's do this. Speaking of Stamets, if you recall in my Stop the Hate review of Discovery, I made a point to say that the producers weren't really going as far as they needed to go in terms of Stamets's and Culber's relationship. Well, hey, they shut me up this episode, and I'm not mad at them. If you're going to portray two people in love and one of them is willing to put their life on the line and possibly die for the cause, what we saw was completely natural. So what can I say? I applaud it. If it hadn't happened, if that kiss had not happened, I would have called foul for not being realistic to these two characters. But of course, the two centerpiece scenes were the Discovery and that spore drive. I mean, you talk about badass. Okay, I am completely sold. That was hot. Seeing Mike get down on the Klingon bridge and challenging, what's his name? Vol, whatever that dude's name is. He tried to clown Mike by using Georgiou's badge as a toothpick, and Mike was like, it's not going down like that. You have no honor. I also made that complaint in another video that these Klingons don't seem to have any honor. She said, you have no honor. I challenge you. He accepted that challenge. And Mike, like I keep saying, she got the job done. Admiral Cornwell, she put it down too. Her legs weren't working, but she had that phaser and she was serving work on them Klingons. I felt sorry for Ash, but when the job had to be done, Cornwell was there to do it. This was the episode where we saw Ash at his weakest. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't justifiable, but it was just really a turn of character to see him crumble. And he had every reason to. Clearly in those flashbacks, the man had been put through some method of torture. Now, let me ask a quick question. I'm going to deviate just for a second. It seems like he was on some sort of operating table, and L'Rell had all of these different tools that looked like she was operating on him. Now, here's the question. Was she performing facial or racial alterations on Ash? Is it possible that in those flashbacks, we saw Ash post-facial surgery when he was screaming, maybe the pain of what she had done to alter his features from one particular Klingon that's currently making the rounds in Trek theory, conspiracy theory? I'll back that up even more. If you remember the scene where L'Rell is in the brig and they got her in some ugly striped uniform and Ash comes in to talk to her, I don't know, she seems way too invested in Ash if she's only enamored of him or has a crush on him. So listen, people, I'm going to call it right now. I think Ash is, in fact, Vok. And his memory has been wiped, as has been suggested that the Klingons could do this in the episode Litha. I still don't know how to pronounce that. But I tell you, it was all capped off. I love this moment where Lorca, I don't care what kind of baggage or skeleton in the closet Lorca has, which he clearly has. That is my dude. When he calls for them to fire on the Klingon vessel, my man stopped, put in some eye drops, and he said, I'm gonna watch this shit explode. Bad ass. I just love that little detail that they put in there. The whole eye drops thing, brilliant. Now, at the end of that scene, it was weird because the camera, right before they cut to the commercial break, the camera lingers on Mike, and she turns to the camera, looking slightly off camera as the explosion gets larger and larger in the view screen. And the first time I saw this episode, I was like, does that mean that the Discovery got exploded too, or got damaged in the blast? Because she looks really concerned. I can't remember what they cut to when they come back from commercial, because I'm doing the $5.99 a month for commercials. But is it the scene where she's talking to Ash and Ash is recounting his torture or whatnot? But that was just kind of odd to me. If you guys have any observations about that, please let me know. The last thing I want to say about Ash is those flashbacks. Wow, they were pretty gruesome. Well, they weren't that graphic, but just what's implied is gruesome and very dark. But what was most disturbing, like I said before, I'm a Seinfeld fan. I'll let Jerry take this one.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I see a nipple.
Yeah, I think we saw Discovery Klingon nipple? Okay. All this time, they had Lursa and B'Etor flaunting their cleavage throughout TNG. And this is what we get when they decide to break that barrier of exposure? Oh, okay. Some other observations that I had about this episode. What is it with the Klingon bridge? Well, we know that that Klingon ship looks like nothing we've ever seen before. But what is it with the bridge? How do they maneuver the ship? We don't see any control panels, no captain's chair. It looks like a large Catholic cathedral or something in there. That's one of the questions I have about the production design. That makes no sense. It's a huge set, doesn't need to be that big. So yeah, I'm not liking that too much. I also thought it was weird that having become privy to Lorca's past with the whatever happened with him on his previous ship, I can't remember the name of the ship, but with all that happened, when he seemingly ran and blew up his crew, he is adamant against leaving the fight, even though the Vulcan admiral tells him he has to report back to the starbase. And he's like, I'm not running. You want me to run from a fight? And I'm like, well, you do have a precedent for that. But maybe that's just his way of redeeming himself, that he will never run again. I'm not sure. And by the way, that Vulcan admiral, he sure seemed like he was depicting some passive-aggressive emotion when he was talking to Lorca. So I want to learn more about that guy. Speaking of conflicting character behavior, I just found it funny that Ash was insistent initially with Mike that they could not deviate from the mission when she detects another human life form on the ship. When Lorca was imprisoned with Ash, Lorca, his mission was to escape, but he deviated from the mission and saved Ash's ass. I'll say that 3 times fast. That was, a little bit of a deviation from Tyler's character. I wouldn't expect that from any Starfleet officer, to be honest. If you have the opportunity to rescue one of your own, a Starfleet member, I would think any member of Starfleet would take that opportunity. There's a moment on the bridge when Reese, I think that's his name, the guy who Lorca says in the previous episode, if you don't mind finding something to fire at for me, Mr. Reese. I love that line. I don't think I got it exactly right. But anyway, Reese, he says that he detects a cloaked Klingon ship coming into their sector, which, unless I'm missing something, that's like established as impossible, even on this series. So help me understand that. If I missed something, please let me know. And the last thing I'll say about the episode in general, it was the one letdown. It wasn't a big thing whatsoever, but the cliffhanger, it was kind of kind of left me a little dry. Basically, spoiler, they find themselves in some universe, part of the universe that they're not familiar with. It looks like it might be an alternate universe or a mirror universe. The premise of finding yourself in a region of space that you're not familiar with is nothing new to Star Trek. So I thought that was a little weak ending. It's like they're trying to build it up as if this was something to hang our hats on until January. Waiting till January sucks anyway, but this was not that Mr. Worf fire moment. And also in that regard, if this is in fact the mirror universe, that reveal won't be that exciting to me either, because we already know about the mirror universe, at least those of us who are not new to Trek. So I thought they could have ramped up the suspense a little bit more and left me more to look forward to when they come back in January. And even the previews, they weren't that exciting either. I didn't find anything that was like, oh, I can't wait to see what's going to happen. It just looks like we're going to get an evil Stamets, which, again, if he's a mirror version, I've already seen it. So, okay, that left me kind of, yeah. But overall, this was an excellent episode. I would give it 4 out of 5 stars. I think, if not the best episode of this batch of episodes, it's got to be up in the top 3. And, you know, I had a revelation about what I like about Discovery, or what I think Star Trek fans who are still whining about how this is not Star Trek. When I came into Star Trek, it was with Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. I could distinguish between the movies and the TV series. The TV series, once Next Generation hit the air, which is my favorite version of Trek, by the way. I mean, TOS is classic. I'm not going to take anything away from that, so that stands alone. But TNG is my favorite version. But with the TV series, those were more like brilliant dramas that were sprinkled with episodes of action. In TNG, Voyager, well, Voyager was more action-oriented, but it still had great drama, more drama. DS9, it did have the Dominion War, but still a lot of drama in DS9. I'm not familiar with Enterprise, forgive me, but so I'm just going to go with those 3. But the TV shows are more about exploring the human condition in terms of some of the social, ripped from the headline social stories that they told. Whereas the movies, while they still spoke to human condition, of course, you know, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, the movies, the tone was completely different. It was more action-oriented, which Kirk and crew lend themselves to, whether on the small screen or the big screen. But the movies had more of a fast, go-get-'em action type of adventure tone to them consistently. So for those people, and I'm going to bring up this word, for those people who are saying the Orville is more like Trek than Discovery is, maybe so, but let me just tell you, the Orville is chasing after Trek from the Berman area. None of the stories sound original. They sound like episodes of Berman era Trek that I can point to. If that's your thing, fine. But my point is, the Orville is more about mimicking the TV versions of Trek, whereas Discovery, with its cinematic flair, the way the camera moves, the colors, the set design, how elaborate it is, how expensive it is, and all the money is on the screen. Discovery is emulating more of the movie versions of Trek. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. I've already outlaid many times the issues I have with the continuity, the Klingons, the uniforms, but I have been able to rationalize why those things work for me. And if you're reading the tie-in novel Desperate Hours, it kind of resolves some of those issues. Where it doesn't resolve it, I can fill in the blanks. I'll save my theory for another podcast. But yeah, if you liked Trek in the movies, the action, the fast-paced, the camaraderie of the characters, and this show could work on the camaraderie, I agree. But if you like that about the Trek movies, that's what we're getting with Discovery. It's like watching an hour-long or 45-minute-long movie every week. I'm good with that. I am great with that. So I'm giving this batch of episodes, what was it, 8 or 9 episodes? There were 2 or 3 that missed the mark, but overall, I'm giving this, what I've seen thus far, a thumbs up. I love where they're going with this. I haven't talked about or discussed, theories about a TV show or conspiracy theories or water cooler type of talk like this since I watched Lost or maybe True Blood or any other kind of, cult type of show. So I love that about this version of Trek. I don't remember talking about, well, maybe that means this, or could that mean this, or little Easter eggs. I never did that on any of the other Trek series. As much as I like them, it didn't engender that type of discussion with fellow Trek fans. So I'm giving Akiva Goldsman and all people involved, Aaron Harberts, everyone involved, I'm giving them their due. I'm giving them their due that they're showing representation. Everyone's getting some camera time. They are representing the LGBTQ community, which is a community that exists, and they are showing that on this episode. And they're putting everything on the screen. Now, hopefully they resolve some of those issues that we have issues with. But hey, keep it coming. I cannot wait till January. It's gonna suck waiting until season 2, which isn't gonna come until 2019, I understand. But maybe I'll cancel CBS All Access and order it again next year, and I'll do the same thing coming into 2019. But thumbs up to Discovery. Thumbs up. I'll see you next year.